Honestly, what are you trying to do? Get copyright struck? It's a horror-thon all month long. Is it an April showers or a bloodbath? You be the judge. I couldn't quite get an accurate read on what particular anniversary this event is, but let's go with 7th annual Halloween, halfway to Halloween, presented by Shudder. The jury's still out. Okay, Shudder has gone all out, pulling out every stop on this celebration. We've got Shudder originals, streaming exclusives, watch parties, franchises, classic films, the works. My breakdown of this streaming guide will be as follows. The halfway highlights. These are the heavy hitters, Shudder originals and exclusives debuting starting this past Friday, April 5th, all the way to the 26th. Number 2 will be also starring. These are streaming programs and even 2 movie marathons. Number 3, Fresh Meat. The standard new monthly editions releasing on the platform. These include a show for binging and classic films for your own viewing pleasure. How about we jump right in? So, having debuted this past April 5th is Baghead. Official plot synopsis. Following the death of her estranged father, Iris learns she has inherited a run-down, centuries-old pub. She travels to Berlin to identify her father's body and meet with the solicitor to discuss the estate. Little does she know, when the deed is signed, she will become inextricably tied to an unspeakable entity that resides in the pub's basement, Baghead, a shape-shifting creature that can transform into the dead. You could say this house is making a killing on the market. I actually did a watch party for this film just yesterday, so be sure to check it out on my channel. Fire up the Shudder app and listen to my angelic voice amuse you during your viewing of Baghead. Next up, what we have for you to view is Late Night with El Diablo, the Devil. So, Halloween, 1977. Jack Delroy's syndicated talk show, Night Owls, has long been a trusted companion to insomniacs around the country. But a year on from the tragic death of Jack's wife, ratings have plummeted. Desperate to turn his fortunes around, Jack plans a Halloween special like no other. Unaware, he's about to unleash evil into the living rooms of America. Starring everyone's favorite everyman, fresh off his role in Oppenheimer, David Mandalorian, Dastardly Mustard, David Duchovny, The Manchurian Candidate, David Dastmalchian. This movie has been getting quite a bit of positive buzz lately, so I very much am anticipatory for it. And now that it's already released in theaters, so next Friday it will be coming to Shudder. So absolutely be on the lookout for this flick. Next up, we have Infested, debuting Friday, April 26th. If your spidey senses are tingling, that's because this flick's already gotten under your skin. The story follows Khalib, who is about to turn 30 and has never been lonelier. He's fighting with his sister over a matter of inheritance and has cut ties with his best friend. Fascinated by exotic animals, he finds a venomous spider in a bazaar and brings it back to his flat. It only takes a moment for it to escape and reproduce, turning the whole place into a dreadful web trap. For me personally, I have always been thoroughly creeped out by anything with too many legs or not enough. Now on to the also starring. First up, we have 101 Scariest Movie Moments of All Time. Here's a treat straight from 2022. I remember growing up on Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments, so it's just one of the benefits that Shudder brings to the table, that they would not only see the value in such a list, but also in giving it a refresher. So, debuting back-to-back episodes airing 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on April 13th. Next up, everyone's favorite, Creepshow. Seasons 1 through 4 will be airing back-to-back starting 6:30 a.m. to the butt crack of dawn on April 15th through the 16th. Much respect to AMC for bringing the Creepshow back from the dead and keeping it going all the way up to 4 seasons. Hell House LLC and VHS franchises. So, first up, Hell House LLC will be debuting from 1:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. April 17th. The VHS franchises will be debuting at 1:45 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. on April 18th. Well, if you're into those franchises, you have at it. I, for one, ain't. Next up, we have on April 20th at 6:40 a.m. all the way to April 22nd will be Nature Nightmares. So, the scary side of Mother Nature with nature-themed horror in honor of Earth Day. I appreciate the dark sense of humor releasing this of all days on Earth Day. And here we have a coup de Gracie, The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. So, Season 6 continues this month. The watch parties resume every Friday from tomorrow, actually, April 12th, all the way to, April 12th and the 26th. In fact, The Last Drive-In Halloween Special Marathon will debut at 5:30 a.m. on April 26th, leading all the way to the new episode at 9 p.m. I didn't grow up with Joe Bob Briggs, but who doesn't like a storyteller to narrate our scary tales? So, shout out to the platform from bringing him back to host the watch parties. Again, between 101 Scariest Movie Moments, Creepshow, and the resurrecting of Joe Bob Briggs, let us rejoice and give thanks to such a service as Shudder. If you have a glass, raise a toast. If you have a hat, make sure to mind your manners and tip it. If you've got a daughter, offer Shudder her hand in marriage. They'll let you keep the rest of her. I hope you wrote all of this down. There's going to be a test later. And now we move on to the fresh meat. Is it just your imagination, or is this haunted room actually stretching? Okay, I'm going to speed run these because we've got a lot of them, as you can see. So, already having debuted, April 1st, we have The Terror Season 2, full series binge. Set during World War II, the second season of The Terror centers on a series of bizarre deaths that haunt a Japanese-American community, and a young man's journey to understand and combat the malevolent entity responsible. Starring George Takei from Star Trek, if you Zoomers even know who that is. Mute Witness, streaming film premiere. From director Anthony Waller, who also directed An American Werewolf in Paris. So you know this one's gonna be a banger. A mute makeup artist working on a slasher movie being shot in Moscow is locked in the studio after house. While there, she witnesses a brutal murder and must escape capture. I give this a rating of meh. The Gates, streaming film premiere. A serial killer has been sentenced to death by electric chair in London in the 1890s, but in his final hours, he puts a curse on the prison he's in, and all those in it. Drag Me to Hell. A lone officer who evicts an old woman from her home finds herself the recipient of a supernatural curse. Desperate, she turns to a seer to try and save her soul, while evil forces work to push her to her breaking point. I've never thought this movie was any great shakes, and considering it's utterly forgettable even by the Raimi diehards, that ought to tell you something. Ghost Stories 2017. After receiving a file with details of 3 unexplained cases of apparitions, skeptical Professor Philip Goodman embarks on a terrifying trip. Does it really take 3 stories to spell out overrated? The Rental. 2 couples rent a vacation home of what should be a celebratory weekend getaway. Just wait until they get conned into buying a timeshare. At the Devil's Door. A real estate agent finds herself caught in something sinister when she has to sell a house with a dark past and meets the troubled teen who used to live there. The Wind. A plainswoman faces the harshness and isolation of the untamed land in the western frontier of the late 1800s. Okay, nothing wrong with a horror western. I see you. Summoning Sylvia. A gay bachelor party turns spooky when sinister spirits are suddenly summoned. Sally sells seashells down by the seashore. Madman. A legendary psychopathic murderer stalks a summer camp. That's original. The last drive-in Madman episode is also available on Shudder. Next up, Spookies. A wicked sorcerer tries to sacrifice a group of people inside his house with the intention of using their vitality to keep his wife alive. Gee, a woman sucking the life out of the party. Well, I do love me a good documentary. The last drive-in Spookies episode is available on Shudder. Creepshow 1982. 5 grisly tales from a kid's comic book about a murdered father rising from his grave, a bizarre meteor, a vengeful husband, a mysterious crate's occupants, and a plague of cockroaches. Not my cup of tea, but this anthology's popularity is undeniable, so have at it. Debuting April 4th, Wakewood. The parents of a girl who was killed by a savage dog are granted the opportunity to spend 3 days with the deceased daughter. Emily. A couple's replacement babysitter turns out to be more than they bargained for when she subjects their kids to a series of twisted activities. She forces them to watch her copy of Madam Web. Truly cruel and unusual punishment. April 8th. Children shouldn't play with dead things. 6 friends in a theatrical troupe dig up a corpse on an abandoned island to use in a mock satanic rite. It backfires with deadly consequences. Just ask Logan Paul. It backfires. You don't say. I mean, what could possibly go right? The 3rd Saturday in October. When a psycho goes on a murderous rampage after surviving a botched execution, only 2 survivors of his initial attack can stop him. The 3rd Saturday in October, Part 5. Follow an implacable killer as he stalks and butchers the occupants of houses across the stretch of one lone country road while the residents prepare to watch a yearly college football bout. That's oddly specific, but convenient for the killer, I guess. April 15th, The Tunnel. An investigation into a government cover-up leads to a network of abandoned train tunnels deep beneath the heart of Sydney. As a journalist and her crew hunt for the story, it quickly becomes clear the story is hunting them. What a swerve. The Tunnel, The Other Side of Darkness. On the 10th anniversary of the Australian found footage film, The Tunnel, this documentary delves into the filmmaker's endeavors to challenge how films are financed and distributed, and the lasting impact The Tunnel had internationally. Oh, you're to blame for the non-genre of found footage that thankfully ain't around anymore. Ah, skip. April 22nd, The House of the Devil, 2009. In 1983, financially struggling, college student Samantha Hughes takes a strange babysitting job that coincides with a full lunar eclipse. She slowly realizes her clients harbor a terrifying secret, putting her life in mortal danger. The last drive-in Joe Bob's Dinners of Death, The House of the Devil episode is available on Shudder. The Innkeepers. During the final days of the Yankee Peddler Inn, two employees determined to reveal the hotel's haunted past begin to experience disturbing events as old guests check in for a stay. I've always found the excuse behind this particular film as the slow burn to be quite a lie. Up next, The Changeling, 1980. After the death of his wife and daughter in a car crash, a music professor staying in a long vacant Seattle mansion is dragged into a decades-old mystery by an inexplicable presence in the mansion's attic. The last drive-in Joe Bob's Dinners of Death, the Changeling episode, is also available on Shudder. Final Cut, aka Death Games. A reporter and his girlfriend follow around a famous actor/entrepreneur and discover some dirt on him to be made public. Scandalous. And in an election year, no less. Oh, the headlines. 13th Floor. As a child, a girl witnessed her father electrocute a young boy. When she grows into an adult, the ghost of the murdered boy appears to her, and together, they set out to expose the crimes of her father. You could say it's a shocker of a twist. Well, if you won't laugh, I have to rely on my soundboard. Okay. So, not to gush all over them, but Shudder really does need to be commended for the work that they do. Not only do we have a platform dedicated to celebrating horror all year round, but one that makes a celebration out of a crossroad in the calendar. Considering April is freshly thawed out from winter and 6 months before Halloween, we could use a cause for festivity heading into spring. Plus, Star Wars fans get to celebrate May the 4th, and when's the last time that galaxy far, far away had anything to write home about? So, it's only fair that we, horror fans, get back in the spirit of things and wake from our hibernation. Therefore, give it a watch because it's time to give this killer app its due. Okay, so this has been a very long 2 weeks for me of streaming. Last week was pretty jam-packed. I did the Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal documentary watch party. That was not this past Monday, the Monday before. I did my third live stream of Alone in the Dark. I did my inaugural Chapter 1 narration of Alice Asylum. On Thursday was the return of the Mind's Eye Inquisition, where I tackled the IGN controversy with Resident Evil 5. This past Monday, I did the Chapter 2 narration of Alice Asylum. Tuesday was the live stream round 4 of Alone in the Dark. Just yesterday, I re-uploaded the watch party for Baghead, which is now available on Shudder. So that brings us to this week, and I'm happy to say that my editorial through the magazine that I write for, Hotness TV, you can see my business associate there is on the cover. That released this past week. The link is in the description for all of you fine folks to check out. So the editorial that I wrote on was Godzilla -1, or I should say A Tale of Two series, Godzilla, the Monsterverse versus -1. Again, the link is in the description for you to check out. And be sure to hit me up on all the socials. The links are in the description. And obviously, download the Shudder app and give them a watch with everything that they have available for us for our viewing displeasure. I've been Inkarnate from the Mind's Eye, reminding you, I ain't just a big deal, I'm the real deal.
If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.